Yeah, 1 2 1 2. Hey yo, AC. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Hey. Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
All right, welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. We've got some background noise going on, but that's okay. 1 second. Let me get that turned off. I don't know why it's doing that. There we go. Let's try again. Good morning. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. We've got a lot to talk about today, as we do each and every day. Today is the NFL news and rumors, your Detroit Lions news and rumors. And yes, Tyreek Hill is a rumor right now. There's some information that came out yesterday. He wants to be done in Miami more so now than ever. And he said something about 6-8 weeks ago that we're going to rehash today. Does he want to be a Detroit Lion? We'll find out. But anyway, your weekday fix for NFL and Detroit Lions news is right here every single day, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Sometimes we go over. Sometimes we start early. Sometimes we start late. But we're here each and every day. Do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe this morning. If you haven't subscribed, you know that we give away mini helmets every 100 subscribers. Those of you that won them last month, they go out today. So I'm excited for you guys to get them. And then, of course, our member gifts go out as well this month. The store. So the store is now open on YouTube. I see that somebody already bought something this morning. Do me a favor. If you are a moderator or if you are a member of the channel, hold off for just a few hours because I'm going to make sure that you guys get your discount code for being a member and a moderator. You get a discount code, and the moderators will also be getting a special package as well. Hopefully before the draft. I have no idea how long it's going to take for these things to get printed and shipped, but we'll find out soon enough. Let's get Eric in here. Enough of the pleasantries this morning. But good morning. Welcome into the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Let's get it rolling. Eric, what's happening, man?
Woohoo! Victory Monday for our Michigan Panthers. Yesterday was awesome.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and talk about whatever you want to talk about for just a minute. Let me check the audio, and then I'll be right back in.
I just want to give my thoughts and prayers out to everybody that's in Michigan right now. There's over 300,000 people without power at this moment. So we might be kind of light with the people, the crew that's in today. And unfortunately, it's because a lot of people are without power. They even had like tornadoes and 80-mile-an-hour winds downstate. Up here, we had freezing ice and trees going over on power lines. And then up where I live, it was ice, and then we got another 2 inches of snow. So I'm not here to give the weather report, but I am here to say, man, I'm thinking of all the people that are without power this morning because it's kind of cold out today.
Yeah, it came kind of hot and fast yesterday, and I have a pup named Gunner, and unfortunately, back in this had to be, I think it was 2013, 2014. We had a tornado that ripped through Wyoming, Michigan, and I was on vacation, well, just down in South Haven, but I boarded my dog for that week, and this tornado ripped through Wyoming. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching the news, and I see the path of this tornado, and it ripped up the dog daycare, 24-hour service. Thankfully, the lady that was running it that night was smart enough to get the dogs out of the main room and into a smaller room. Now, the entire place got blown apart, but all the dogs got loose. Thankfully, all of them were caught and brought to the Home Depot right around the corner. And then I was able to pick him up the next day. But I drove, I don't know, probably 100 miles an hour from South Haven at 1 o'clock in the morning to Wyoming to try to find my dog, and was out till 4 or 5, and they just wouldn't let me search for him. They closed everything off. But going through that, now my dog knows when stuff's coming. Like, he knows. He's been there, done that. And yesterday, you could tell that he was pretty upset. And so Megan was coming down like, Gunner's really upset, obviously. Bad weather's on the way. And it was true. So, again, yeah, my thoughts, obviously, are with everybody today that's going through this. It's spring in Michigan, man. And lately, we've had more bad weather than I care to remember. It's like all of a sudden we've got this bad weather every year. We didn't used to have it this bad. So something's changed. But anyway, appreciate all you guys being here this morning.
Sunshine's coming. It's going to get warm. Won't be too long. We'll all be out on the beaches.
Yeah, so in Grand Rapids, we did have, at least as reported right now, there was 3 dead, 3 injured when a tree fell on a car during the storm. So obviously our our hearts, our thoughts, prayers go out to the families and friends of the deceased this morning. Obviously, anyone that's displaced. Wish we could do something to help. You know, I wish like I had a construction company or something I could just go help. But if you can help today, do what you can. Do what you can. Let's get it kicked off. Everybody in the chat this morning, which I don't have open. I need to get it open. I appreciate you guys being in here each and every day like you always are. And big shout out to the mods, members. You know who you are. You show up each and every day. And you've helped build one of the best communities for Lions content. And again, I thank you. Appreciate you guys for what you do. Eric, get us kicked off while I get my
All right. So
stuff
Rich
together
Eisen,
here.
Rich Eisen was talking this past week about Mr. Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers has come out and said that he wants at least a 2-year deal for anywhere he's going to go. Is he going to go to the Vikings, where he wants to go? Is he going to go to the Steelers that want him really bad? Well, there's been a lot of speculation about Rodgers joining a team and saying that he won't sign a 1-year deal. He wants at least 2. And on a recent episode of the Rich Eisen podcast, Rich Eisen predicts what the annual compensation would be. And quote, this is what Eisen had to say. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to start with a 4, north of 40 million, Eisen said during his show. How about this? 2 years, 70 million with incentives that can pop it up more. Eisen predicted. Rodgers is 41 years old and had a bad season last year. In New York, by anyone's standards, the former Super Bowl MVP signed a 3-year, $112 million deal with the Jets, and he's getting paid for it this year for an average annual payout of $37.5 million. Why does he think he deserves a raise for his performance in 2024, a season after suffering a torn Achilles? Well, the QB market is just absolutely bonkers. It's crazy. And to think that Aaron Rodgers thinks he deserves a raise, and he's getting $49 million guaranteed this year from the Jets because they put a bunch of that guaranteed money into this year of his contract. So he is getting paid $49 million from the Jets. So he could do a deal like Russell Wilson did last year for $1 million and he'd still make $50 million. But no, he wants $40 million per season and a 2-year deal. What do you think about that, Will?
I think that Aaron Rodgers is just I don't even want to say this politely, but how do I say this a little bit PC? I think he's just trying to rip off the NFL. Yeah. I think that he knows that he's got, or that he has a couple of teams in a bad way. And those teams are probably worried, the GM, the coach, whatever, probably worried about what they do this season and how they perform, or they might lose their jobs. Going all in on Aaron Rodgers is not going to save your job. It won't. And it's not going to help your team because he's not going to be somebody that is, at least from experience, right, in what we have read, what we have watched over Aaron Rodgers' career, he didn't even want to help Jordan Love. So he's not a mentor type. And I don't think much has changed for him. I don't think there's enough ayahuasca on the planet that is going to change that for him. And I would say that these teams that are in a bad way for a quarterback, Aaron's not the answer, man. Just put it out there that you're going to go through a rebuild. You're going to do what you can do in the draft. If there's anybody else even available right now in the free agency market, just pick somebody up. Kirk Cousins may still be available. Hold out and wait for that. That's a much better option than Aaron Rodgers is. At least Kirk Cousins is willing to mentor somebody. So I don't know. I think that Aaron Rodgers is just trying to rip off the NFL, like only because he knows that he can. Like, just let the dude disappear. It's time for him just to dissipate into nothingness and end his career. I mean, he had an illustrious career, right? I mean, hell of a quarterback, a thorn in the Lions' paw forever. And we sent him off the best way we knew how, which was by Kirby Joseph picking him off 3 times. And he just needs to go away. He's bad for the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm ready to be over the Aaron Rodgers drama. I just wish he would sign with the Vikings. I think it would be hilarious if he went to the Vikings.
Well, we know that's not happening.
Yeah.
We know for sure that's not happening. I think that there's still a possibility that Kirk Cousins ends up moving, to
Browns?
the Browns. Yeah. So I don't even think Kirk's going to end up. I think the Vikings are set with JJ, and they're willing to kind of go through the season. If Joe Flacco's still available, that is someone that I would bring in Minnesota. I would absolutely. And you know what? I can't wait to talk about more of that stuff on April the 7th. I think we're going to start about 7:00. So it's going to be a multi-creator draft preview off-season conversation. And there's going to be, I know on the thumb in that, and the trailer, there's only a couple of creators listed, but all 22 films, Paul Farrington, Big Blue in the Bronx, probably 2 giant goofballs, and others that I've reached out to. But there's going to be plenty of high quality, solid football minds in this April 7th kickoff, kind of the draft. And I think that we're going to uncover a lot in that episode, in that show. Be live, probably go for a couple hours, and we'll learn a lot about everybody's team. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I don't remember what I was saying.
See, well, that's what happens when I talk too long.
Yeah, somebody sent me a message, so got me thinking off in another train of thought.
Uh-oh. Is that football stuff today?
No.
No? Okay. So you had Rich Eisen, obviously discussing this deal, $70 million NFL contract for Aaron Rodgers. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Just let the dude walk away. Now, over the weekend, give me 1 second. I got to put a code in here so I can actually get signed in. If you guys haven't visited the store, it is now linked on YouTube. Like I said, if you're a mod or a member, please just wait a couple hours. You'll have your discount code. There is a general discount code right now. It's 25% off that the shop put together for us. They just gave that to us anyway for the next 7 days or something. So there is that. I'm not so sure that there's a better discount than that I'll be able to put up for mods and members, but we'll see what I can do today. FTB is on there. You know that it is.
Yeah,
there's an FTB shirt just for you, Brandy Coffee. I know that you've been looking for one. It's there.
An FTP one, I'd be getting one.
We can make that one too.
Do
you want it in green? What color do you want it in?
I have 2 of them. No, you do it in Honolulu blue colors. I have 2 of them already. I have a long shirt, a sweatshirt, and then I have one that says Green Bay sucks, and it's Green Bay in one word.
So I will put up a couple that are more PC, right? So it actually doesn't say the F word on it, but those are, look, there's shirts like that out there everywhere. It's your choice if you want to wear it, but it's not a representation of the channel or the network. It's just apparel. It's just what it's what the designers put together, and we're happy to, put it all towards a good use. So this weekend, I'm going to try not to call anybody out specifically, but you know that this channel has always been about truth, transparency, honesty in what we discuss, right? The opinions that we have are opinions, and they usually come through very factual. We come through a lot of research, right? Try to use as much facts as we can to create opinions that hopefully turn out to be somewhat relevant or true, right? But then when we talk about just straight up facts about a given player or a draft or a mock draft even, this weekend, there was a lot of messages coming my way about a certain video, I think it was, talking about Abdul Carter and the Lions moving up to number 1 to get Abdul Carter, or moving up, whatever, to get Abdul Carter. Now, everyone, we looked to try to find this ESPN mock draft. As of right now, it doesn't exist. I even had AI crawl 200 websites with an exact phrase that was put up. Can't find it. So I'm going to say allegedly it doesn't exist, or reportedly no one can find it. So my question is, why would we do that? Why would we put up this story without citing a source? Obviously, it's not going to happen, right? At least we don't expect anything like that to happen. The move would be way too rich. If you wanted to move up into the top 2 or 3, which is where you're going to have to even get a shot at Abdul Carter. And honestly, if you really want him and you're willing to move up to 3, you better move up to 1. Because if you don't, you're probably going to miss out. And then you spend all that draft capital of your future and you're going to miss. It would legit take a pick swap, next year's first, probably next year's second, probably this year's second, and probably a 27th, fourth, or a third to move all the way up to number 1 from 28. Like, it would take an arm, a leg, and your future to do it. Why would the Lions do that? Why? They have never shown to be irrational. They have never shown to say F them picks or F them contracts. I don't see it. It doesn't make any sense. But for the people out there that are pumping this stuff, please use a source, because if we can't find it, well, then we can't believe you. So, is what it is. But you guys can figure out who put it out there on your own. I'm not going to call anybody out. That's just not what I do. Furthermore, I want to talk about 2 other players that continually get named or mocked to the Detroit Lions. Now, I had a conversation this weekend with an analyst, and I asked a very direct question. So I'm going to just read you what the question was. Let me go back to my Twitter here. Why is it not letting me go back even further than I want to? Okay, so my question was this. I don't get it. My question was this about Mike Green and James Pierce, but mostly Mike Green. I said, when I look at Mike Green's tape, I look at his size. Yes, he has probably the most polished pass rush moves. I think that he is very strong at the attack. And I think that, he has his talent that he's, gone up against the competition, not the best to evaluate. Now, we've seen this with Quinton Mitchell last year coming out of Toledo. There was a lot of questions. Now, he was able to prove himself right away. But this is Marshall. I guess you could say that they're about the same, Toledo and Marshall. But Mike Green, in my opinion, when you watch everything that he has done, he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. He is not a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme. He's 6'3", 250. Yeah, he could gain some weight. What's Aiden Hutchinson? 6'7", 270, roughly?
Yeah, right around there.
Right. And Davenport, I think, is 6'4", 280. And Pascal is right around the same. He's about 6'5", 285, 295, somewhere in that range. The point that I'm trying to make is in a 4-3 defensive scheme, you typically have your speed end and then, your edge setter, right? I mean, they both need to set the edge, but your can crusher, as Aaron Glenn used to refer to it as. One guy is going to be the bigger, guy that just crushes the line, right? Tries to impact that side of the line, force everything inside. The other guy is constantly just trying to get to the quarterback, trying to disrupt and trying to get into the backfield. Now, scheme, obviously, they implement, they try to attack and do different things. I don't see where the Lions can put a Mike Green on this defense. And I'm not saying he's not a dynamic football player. I'm not saying that I wouldn't love to have him as a linebacker. I don't know that his coverage skills are going to meet the demand of a linebacker. And the question that I asked was just that. I see Mike Green as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Tell me something different. And he did say that he thinks that Mike Green is stronger than what some people think, but he did agree that Mike Green is a 3-4 backer, outside backer, that he thinks it would present a potential issue if him and Barnes are both to the boundary in a 4-3 look. It might mean that Hutchinson goes to the boundary with Barnes and Green plays the field. That would be a potential fix. And that was really about it. The more so he was agreeing the fact that he's a backer. I'm not going to name the source just because I don't do that unless that person's on the show. So, you guys can make your own determination, but the same thing with James Pierce is smaller linebacker type. Just because they played an end type position, I think that we have to look at the scheme that they played in college. Like, that's the first thing. Whatever they played in college doesn't mean that it's going to match up in the NFL. Happens all the time. You see guys playing tackle on the offense, they become guards in the NFL. You see guys playing, safety, and they become corners. You got corners that become safeties. You've got linebackers that become safeties because they're 230 pounds. So just because they play a certain position at the college rank doesn't mean that it's going to translate to the NFL, because body size, athleticism, everything changes. You're going up against the best of the best of the best in the NFL, and just because you might have had some weaker competition and you probably should have been on a better football team doesn't mean that all is going to translate. So again, I'm not trying to poo-poo on everybody's parade here. People that would like to have somebody like Mike Green, but I think that there's better options. I think that there are, in moving all the way up to take somebody that that really doesn't fit, that now maybe you have to figure out a way to get him on the field, which I don't think would be a problem. But you just signed Barnes to a 3-year deal. Alex Anzalone, okay, could he take over Anzalone's spot? I don't think so. So I think that that's the issue that we need to, discuss here, is making sure that these players fit the scheme more so than just being a good football player, best football player overall. They still have to fit the scheme. I don't think Brad is going to take somebody that doesn't fit their scheme at all, and they're going to. What did you say earlier, Eric, when I mentioned this to you? What did you say the Lions used to do?
They used to take players and, they would just take whatever player because they're the best player on the board, but they wouldn't take a player that fit them at all. So you'd get this round peg and try to put it in a square hole. It just did not work. Okay, so Jay Cruzen brought up a good one in the chat just now. Jared Davis. So he was a player who wasn't quite big enough to play end, and he wasn't quite small enough to play linebacker, and the Lions didn't know what to do with him. And he ended up leaving the team, going away for a year, coming back for a year, doing absolutely nothing. And that was a wasted draft pick, in my opinion, because the guy just didn't fit. And
you're talking about Gerard Davis, right?
Or Gerard Davis, yeah, not Jared.
Yeah, and so we're talking. Wow, when was this?
That was 5-6 years ago, or 7
it
years.
had to be longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was back Patricia age type stuff, but because he was drafted before Matt Patricia got here, and then he came back. He left for a season, came back, and then it was gone again. And he just never fit because his body style was kind of like a Mike Green or a Pierce, where he wasn't big enough to be that big end, and he wasn't small enough to be a linebacker. And they tried him at linebacker and they tried him at end, and it just never worked. It was like the Lions have always struggled, in my opinion, to find that Sam linebacker, that guy that can do it all and can rush the end and be a linebacker. They've just, I think Jack Campbell's as close as they've ever come to somebody that can actually do that position, and he doesn't do it that much. And
yeah, I think they're still working on Jack, but I mean, even Anzalone he's kind of been that, that jack of all trades, if you will.
Yeah.
The utility player. I think that Anzalone's been one of the best. I mean, he said it best last week. We highlighted him last week where, he put it out there that there's no other linebacker that is doing what he has been asked to do. But yes. I get your point here on Jared Davis. Yeah. I don't have any of his stats or anything in front of me, so I really couldn't speak to it. But when we look at Mike Green, on my sheet, he is an extremely poor score for hand size. Now, do hands really matter for a linebacker? Yes. I think that it does help, obviously, when you're tackling or if you're trying to get your hands on a football. Maybe hand size for a linebacker is the least of your worries, I guess I would say. Mm-hmm. Looking at his arm length, he only has 32-inch arms, so I would not have him as a defensive end. I just wouldn't. I think his arm length is too short. His ape index is only 1.03. So it's not like he's earth-shattering long from the breastplate forward, down to his fingertips. He's not very long. So you have to make up for these deficiencies somehow, right? You either have to have elite size, elite weight, and strength to manage the deficiencies that you have in smaller hands, smaller wing, smaller ape index. It just doesn't make sense to me. He's 6'3". According to NFL.com, he's reported at 6'3", 251 pounds at the combine. So what that tells me, he's probably 6'2 3/4 or 6'2 7/8 because they always round up. So he's not extremely tall. And when you're looking for a defensive end in a 4-3 scheme, I would say that 6'3.5", 6'4" is probably the cutoff. But you better have long arms, and you better have some elite pass rushing skills. You better be fairly quick and agile. He has great bend. Absolutely has great bend. He's pretty quick off the snap as well. I think he reads and reacts really well too. But I just don't. I'd rather see him as a linebacker. And I just don't see him. I don't see him fitting into a 4-3 scheme, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point though. I mean, yeah, this is what the Lions used to do.
Okay, just to go back to last year on this exact point, James Houston, Matthew Betts, same exact thing. We didn't know if they were going to be an end. We didn't know if they were going to be a linebacker. They were just these pegs that were star shaped. They didn't fit in the round hole. They didn't fit in the square hole. You have to have players that fit your system. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. We don't run a 3-4. We run a 4-3 or a 4-2, and we have to have the right players. In my opinion.
It's that simple, right? You don't want to try to fit a round peg into a square hole, I think is what you're trying to say there. It just doesn't work.
Yep.
So this is probably the most unpopular take on Jack Sawyer. Now, I mentioned this to somebody the other day on Saturday, and I said, Jack is totally off my board, which is nuts. He's totally off my board in the first round, and I even have him later than halfway through the second round, simply because his measurements didn't stack up for me. Yeah, he's elite at what he does. He's got some great attributes to his game, but he just didn't stack up in certain areas that I was hoping to see. Again, his ape index is a 1.01. I see Jack Sawyer being a phenomenal inside backer in a 3-4 scheme, not as a defensive end, definitely not as an outside linebacker. But you put him on the inside of a 3-4 scheme, I think that Jack Sawyer is going to perform amazingly. I don't know of anybody else talking about that. I haven't heard anyone else talking about that. But let's just wait and see if my crazy calls come true. We'll see if Jack Sawyer gets selected by a team that puts him as an inside backer. I think that he would excel there, especially the way that he's a tackling machine. He's a run stuffer. So you put him inside on 3-4, I think he's going to be just great. But if you put him as an inside backer, which would be a middle backer in a 4-3, doesn't fit. Wouldn't fit. He's not a Jack Campbell. For sure, not a Jack Campbell. And then James Pierce. So the same thing for this guy. Arm length, 32 3/4. He's 245 pounds. He's got 10-inch hands. His ape index is a little bit better. So he's a little bit better than average at 1.05. So he has some good wing to him. He's got some long length to him. His weight's a little bit light. Doesn't mean that he can't increase his weight. So the wider your wingspan is, the better your ape index is, the more weight your body can handle. I'm not the one that made up the rules. The physicians made up the rules that did all this research. I'm just reporting it. So James Pierce Jr., again, I don't see him as a defensive end. I see him as a backer. And the conversation, again, that I had yesterday agreed with that. We'll see what happens. You know what? We're all full of opinions, right? Like I say it all the time. It's okay to have a different opinion. But what I am going to say is when you watch the tape, when you watch what the guy does, you look at their measurements, it just wouldn't make any sense to me. But that doesn't mean that a team wouldn't risk it for the biscuit to bring in a guy just because of a talent level. So, this is what it is. Saturday, if you guys missed out on the interview with Nick Scorton's dad, you better watch it. We learned a lot. Nick Scorton is going to be an amazing pro at the next level. And it's not even about what he does on the field. It's about what he is off the field, who he is off the field. And that is a perfect mold, if you will, of what a Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes guy is. Assuming that all those things are correct, right? I mean, Mr. Scorton even said it himself that, this is coming from his father. So, people kind of, scoff at the idea that, it's coming from me, not somebody else. But other people are talking about it too. Be interesting to see where he ends up. I still have him in the first round. I've seen where some analysts have him at the very tippy top of the second round. Lions possibly trading back. I still think a guy like that you want to take in the first. If he's there at 28, there's no reason why the Lions wouldn't take a shot on Nick Scorton. At least that's what I believe. But we'll see what happens on draft day.
Yeah, him and his playing partner there, either one of those guys.
Yeah. Shamar
Stewart or Nick Scorton, I'd be happy with either of those guys in the first round. I think they're both round pegs and they'd go in a round hole. So I think we got a spot for either one of those guys.
Yeah. So Brent had mentioned the last week too, talking about the Oladejo and Josiah Stewart. So Josiah Stewart, I only saw where he's had, we can just go into that real quick. We'll go into the tracker update. Josiah Stewart, from what I've seen, has only had a virtual with the Lions. I'm not sure, on how high these guys really are for the Lions just yet. But I would say that Josiah Stewart is a third round option right now, based on what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. Oladejo, same thing. Oladejo is a guy that I pointed out quickly, and I think it was the Shrine Bowl that we watched together. It could have been the Reese's Bowl, one of those bowls. He popped. Like, Oladejo popped. He really showed up. And so I do like what his ability is, but I would question scheme fit versus just being a great football player, and I think that there's some confusion there. Best football player available, BPA, best player available, right? It doesn't mean they don't fit. They have to fit. When you build your board, you're going to build it on the best football player available. And since I don't know what Brad's board really looks like, I would assume that it goes by scheme fit as well. Or they have an idea of where they think that this player could go. Sometimes you bring guys in just because, especially in later rounds, that they're special teamers. So do they still need to fit your scheme? They do. But I would say a little bit less that they need to fit the scheme, because you're going to slowly integrate them into the scheme and remold and reshape them. These elite guys, I think if you want year one production out of them, they need to be scheme fits. If you look at some of these elite guys that come out first round and then they can flatline their first year or two, and you're like, what the hell? Like, we do a redraft and these guys are not even close. It's because they're in the wrong scheme. They're used the wrong way. And the Lions haven't been a team to do that the last 4 seasons. They've brought the right guys in that fit them, their team, their culture, everything else. Why do you think they're able to hit the field day one? Because they fit the scheme. I think that there's something to that. I was just going to look at Josiah Stewart. So Josiah Stewart, he's got a great ape index, man, 1.08. He is extremely long. Arms, 31 and 5/8, so really short, 249 pounds. He's only 6'1", 9.5-inch hands. He is extremely small. Again, he would probably fit more as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Could you utilize him as a Sam or a Will linebacker? I'd have to go reevaluate his tape to see, what his coverage is like. But I think in the Lions system, they expect you to do a few things differently than other teams. And I think that there's a stark difference between a 4-3 backer and a 3-4 backer. It's the same argument that we have for defensive ends. People see these pass rush grades and scores and stats and sacks, and they fail to recognize that it was a 3-4 backer versus a defensive end. And again, I think it's just because people don't look at everything. They don't get as deep into the weeds, if you will. Way off track today, Eric.
It's all right.
I'm way off track.
Whatever we want to do. It's our show.
I know. Let's do this. Let's get into Justin Fields for a moment.
There you go.
So over the weekend, there was a report that happened. Obviously, there's league meetings going on. There's some interviews that are happening. And I caught wind of this thing that now Justin Fields has been named the starter for the New York Jets. Didn't I just say that was going to happen a couple weeks ago?
Smart.
Yeah, where I said, look, why would the Jets be going after a quarterback if they have Justin Fields? You're going to make this guy a starter. Why would you waste such an early pick on a quarterback in a barren quarterback draft? You're going to have to do some finagling or moving around to get Cam Ward. If you wait, you could end up with Jalen Milroe, which is not a bad, a bad second prize, if you will, or a Jackson Dart. So I think this is, again, where my final mock draft is shaping up to be. The Jets aren't taking a QB. They're going to do whatever they have to do to make sure that Justin Fields has what he needs for an offensive line. And if they have that before the draft, I couldn't tell you right now if they've done enough. Then I think that, as a defensive-minded coach, I think that Aaron Glenn is going to want to address the defense. But here's what Justin Fields said about Aaron Glenn. He said, I think, number one, Coach Glenn, I've played against him early in my career. I know how passionate he is about the game, the way he coaches, the way his players play. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. And just the opportunity. The fans, of course, the city. When you win here, there's no better place to win. Let me pause. Yeah, but when you lose there, trust me, there's better places to lose. Those reasons are ultimately why I ended up here. Our relationship playing against each other means a lot because Detroit, of course, they've had a lot of success the past couple of years. So for him to want me here is definitely an honor. And I'm going to put it all on the line for him and do all I can to help this team be successful. So this was said, and then it came out that he was going to be the starter. I'm not surprised at all. But my question is this. How is it that Ben Johnson ends up with Caleb Williams and now Aaron Glenn ends up with Justin Fields? Is it that Justin Fields carved Aaron Glenn up so many times that maybe Aaron Glenn's called crap defenses, in my opinion, during those games where we're going up against mobile quarterbacks early? Like we're talking 21, 22. I think 23, 24, we started to kind of turn the ship a little bit, and we were much better against mobile quarterbacks. Doesn't mean that, I can't remember if Justin Fields went off in one game in 23. I think he did. And it might have been a Thanksgiving Day game, if I remember correctly. But at any rate, I feel like, yeah, when you know your opponent, when you've gone up against Justin Fields for 4 straight years, or at least 3 straight years, you know who he is as a football player. But how is it that these guys end up with these NFC North quarterbacks? Were they just in awe of these guys on the other side? Or, again, I'm going to throw it out to you guys. Do you think that Aaron Glenn called a bad defense? Or do you think it was Justin Fields doing more than what he expected and was able to have some success in those games? Aaron Glenn said this about Justin Fields at the meetings yesterday. He said, he can really throw the deep ball well, really, really well. I'm going to pause there. I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. Anyway, I'll continue on. He says, obviously his legs are something that's dynamic, not just in college, but the NFL as well. I just think that he's ready to break out as a top-notch quarterback. So he's going to do everything he can to be one of the better ones, and we're going to coach our asses off to make sure he does a good job out there, end quote. Eric, do you think that Justin Fields is going to be a top-notch quarterback in 2025?
I don't, but is he serviceable? Yes.
For sure.
Does he have some legs? Yes. So he's that mobile quarterback that a lot of coaches want. It's just he's not the best passer of the ball, but maybe that's the systems he's been in. Now he's going back. He's going to have one of his former wide receivers that he had in college that they hooked up for a bunch in college. And I think it's a great opportunity for him. And I think it's the perfect bridge quarterback for the Jets. So they can use him for a year or two. You don't have to rush into taking a quarterback high. If you suck this year, well, then next year you can take your high-end quarterback. But if I was the Jets, I probably wouldn't even draft a quarterback this year. I would just go with Fields and whoever else you got and go from there.
I think they'll take a quarterback. I think that they'll find one. I can't remember all their draft picks, but I would say that the Jets will definitely find one.
second, third rounders.
Yeah, of course. And I don't think that there's a bad pick right there. If you end up with Milrow or Dart or Ewers, whatever his name is, there's some serviceable, like you said, or fairly decent quarterbacks in the draft, in the second and third rounds. It just, every year it seems like we have a little bit of a, the oh shit moment, like, oh, we forgot about that guy. Like, he's actually pretty good, and that always seems to happen every year. So anyway, if they can maybe, coach this guy up in Justin Fields, maybe a breakout's possible. Justin Fields being named the starter. And I'm going to come back and talk about our own quarterback here in just a minute. I want to address something in the chat. Good question or statement in there. I'm going to re-highlight again. But let's see, when did this come out? This was Heavy Sports. It was last night, 7:30 p.m. Says there will be zero drama in New York. The competition in 2025 is all but solidified. General Manager Darren Muji announced at the annual league meetings that Justin Fields will be QB1 on Sunday. Quote, he is a starter, but Tyrod Taylor is going to be right on his heels. Tyrod is a pro's pro. He is really going to be a great asset for Justin in the locker room, or as in the quarterback room. Tyrod has been around the league for a long time. He knows what it takes to prepare and to prep for this league and be ready to play. I think that he is going to be a really great asset to Justin in the room. So there it is. He's now the starter, and they got him cheap, right? They got a 2-year, $40 million deal, $30 million of it guaranteed. You're essentially paying this guy $20 million a year. Even if he performs to the best that he possibly can, $20 million is all he's getting. At a minimum, he's getting $15 million. That is incredibly cheap for a guy that, he has dynamic legs. I think everyone has wanted to see Justin Fields turn into a pocket passer a little bit more. And I would say this, he never threw for 4,000 yards in a single season. I would be concerned about that as a Jet, but apparently Aaron Glenn's not. I think that they're going to try to stack picks and do what they can to build this team. And I wouldn't even take this away from the Jets, that maybe they're not so worried about winning this year. They're more worried about having a better pick again next year. Maybe they believe in Justin Fields, but they don't believe in Justin Fields enough. So give me your final take here on Justin Fields being the starter.
I think he's going to be serviceable. I mean, he's mobile enough to get around, make some time in the pocket. So I don't know what their offensive line is going to look like for the Jets this year. Was it horrible last year? I think it was. So if I was the Jets, I would probably be doing more of the Brad Holmes style of rebuild, where you're getting guys in the trenches. You get your Penei Sewell, start over, do it right. And I think that's exactly what Aaron Glenn wants to do. He wants to build through the trenches, put in a good, man coverage defense, and just wear on people and try to win the games. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel in New York. And he played for the Jets, so he wants them to be good. And he finally got his chance to be a head coach. He wants it to be good. He doesn't want to fail. So the easiest way not to fail is take a couple of years, build it right, get it back on track.
I couldn't agree more, man. It's not right. It's the marshmallow test, right? Do you need it all today, or can you wait a season or two? And that does impact some of the players that you've drafted, Sauce Gardner and others that maybe, you're up against the clock here. And if you're not having any success, these guys may want to leave. So you might lose some good football players by having that approach, but you also might bring in some pretty damn good football players by just taking a breath and putting it together. The Jets finished about middle of the pack last year for their offensive line. So they're not far away. But I think that having a Justin Fields gives you, I guess, an extra lineman, to a degree, when he can kind of run and keep the defense on their heels. So let me address something in the chat. Mr. Murdoch was saying or asking, wondering, is Hendon Hooker trade bait for the Lions to move up in the draft? Now, we've talked about this quite a bit on this channel. And the thing that I see with Hendon Hooker is, one, I don't think that you bring a guy like this in and then you don't finish the job. Like, I don't think you bring a guy like Hendon in and have him on your roster for a couple of seasons, coming off of an injury. You knew that year one wasn't going to happen anyway. Year two was his first year in the system, really in the system, going through a full offseason. Year three, which is what he's in now, will have his second opportunity to go start to finish. Just because Teddy Bridgewater came in for Jared Goff last season in the Commanders game doesn't mean that Hendon Hooker was a wasted pick. It doesn't mean that Hendon Hooker was a bad pick at all. What it means is they needed the most experienced guy on the football team to step in for Jared Goff. That's all it meant. It was going to be a couple of plays is what they were hoping for. But why would you go to essentially a rookie in what is the biggest game of the season at that moment? Why would you go to a rookie that hasn't played? It's exactly why they brought Teddy back. It's exactly why you bring guys in like Kyle Allen that have experience in football games. It doesn't mean that Hendon Hooker can't be serviceable. Doesn't mean that he can't win you a couple of football games if needed. And it doesn't mean that it was a wasted pick because Teddy came in for 2-3 plays, whatever it was. I think it was just a culmination of the timing, where this game was at the exact moment, and Teddy has more than 10 years of experience in the NFL and was trusted to go in there and do everything that was asked of him. And then we also don't know, was Hendon Hooker banged up at all? We don't know if he suffered any little injuries that maybe didn't make the injury report. Not saying that they hit anything, but you just don't know. You have no idea. So there could be many reasons, but what I will say is Hendon Hooker has the ability to be a great backup in the NFL. I don't think that he has the ability to be a great starter right now. He needs more time. We also need a really good backup on this team. And so far, I think he has been. The last thing I'll say is you don't want to see Hendon Hooker. Why would you want to see Hendon Hooker on the field at all? You want to see Jared Goff. Jared Goff is winning a lot of football games. So I think that fans also kind of get off sidetracked here thinking, well, how come Hendon's not playing? We're not even seeing. You don't want to see him. If you're seeing Hendon, that's a problem because you just spent, $160 million or whatever it was on Jared Goff. You don't want to see Hendon in the game. Any thoughts on that, Eric, before we get to the next news?
So I'm looking at something in the chat, and someone put Dak Prescott was just traded to the Browns. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Look stuff up before you say that.
Yeah.
Because listen, all you got to do is go to Adam Schefter on X. If he's not saying it, or Ian Rappaport isn't saying it, it's not real. That would be the biggest story in the NFL today if that really happened.
It was rumored last week by Dove Kleiman.
Yeah.
And then there was some reports that came out. I have zero respect for Dove Kleiman. He's an absolute clickbaiter. Yeah, he's making money off being a clickbaiter. If that's what you want to be, you'll never have the respect of, I don't get it. It's like people are so gullible today with the way that our news and media is and has been with social media. I mean, I've legit had conversations with people like they're showing me something on their phone and it's coming from, something that is like known as complete satire. And like they're believing in this political thing that's happening. And I'm like, how is this possible? How are we this uneducated and gullible? Yeah. Did we forget how to research? Yeah, I guess I'll say this one last thing. I guess if you didn't grow up in the Dewey Decimal System, you don't know how to open a book. You don't know how to research. And everything on the internet must be true, which is not. So I'd say more than 50% of everything on the internet's more than fake. Yes. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. We need to open up more books. But unfortunately now AI is writing our books.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, full of wrong stuff. And, just anytime you see some big headline, you're like, whoa, go look first. Just go look at Adam Schefter. Go look at Ian Rappaport. If they're not reporting on it, it's most likely 99% fake. I can't tell you how many people reach out to me every day with fake stuff. They send me messages or post it on my Facebook wall. And I unfortunately have to tell them that it's fake. And I used to get taken, but then I took Will's advice, look it up. And now I don't get caught anymore with my pants down with fake news. because it happened to me one time.
It happens to everybody.
Yep.
You know, it does. And it's okay. Like sometimes it happens. You just want to get things out, and then you realize, well, maybe I didn't do enough research. And if I do something like that, I'll admit it, and then I'll remove it because there's no reason to even have it up. But okay, so we are at 9 a.m. Let's pivot real quick. I know we have a few other NFL news things to get to if we have some time. I do want to talk about Tyreek Hill, possibility to the Detroit Lions. Again, this is just conversation. But first, let's get our UFL update in for the weekend. We had our first full weekend of
UFL games.
UFL, man. I mean, it was fun to finally have some football back on TV. I missed the whole first half yesterday, just trying to get it on TV, but it was fun to watch. So Eric, take it away and tell us what happened this weekend.
Yeah, so there was 4 games this weekend. Man, what a blast. I watched all 4 games beginning to end, every single game. The first 2 games were kind of boring. They were blowouts. The second 2 games on Sunday were crazy good. All right, so the first game on Friday night, the Battle Hawks beat the Houston Roughnecks 31-6 in a game that was never competitive. The Battle Hawks quarterback Manny Wilkins completed 17 of 22 passes for 189 yards and also ran for 43 yards and 2 touchdowns. That game was not even close. And then the next game on Saturday afternoon, this was between the Renegades and the San Antonio Brahmas. So I picked all 4 games this weekend. I picked 3 out of 4 games correctly, and this was the one game I picked incorrectly. Now, from the XFL, back when it was 2 different leagues, the Renegades were my favorite team because their colors most closely matched the Lions, so that's why I picked them as my favorite team in the XFL. But they were really bad last year. This year, it's a little bit different. Former Dolphins running back broke the UFL record in his league debut. On Saturday, Kalen Ballage showed he still got a little gas in the tank. In his first ever game with the Arlington Renegades, the running back broke a UFL record by ripping off a 77-yard touchdown run. And Kalen led the Arlington Renegades to a dominant win over the San Antonio Brahmas 33-9. While internet sensation Destroying finally made his first field goal as an actual professional field goal kicker. And then he missed his next one, and they played this song on the PA, and it was absolutely hilarious.
Which song was it? I'm glad to see Destroying back and healthy after he had a crazy injury last year. He's been deserving of an NFL roster for so long, but he's been such an internet, famously doing his thing on the internet, and it's almost like he's made so much money doing that. Why play for the NFL? But I think he needs to. He needs to at least get in one game. But anyway, continue.
I don't know the name of the song, but it's something about going wide, and it was completely trolling. it was hilarious that they had it all set up and ready to go. And then the game of the weekend, the Michigan Panthers took on the Memphis Showboats at the Memphis Showboats. The Michigan Panthers won 26-12 with quarterback Bryce Perkins going 16 for 19 for 177 and 2 touchdowns, 1 through the air and 1 on the ground. On defense, Kaya Nakua, brother of Puka Nakua, intercepted an E.J. Perry pass for 80 yards for a defensive score with 26 seconds left to seal the game and ruin my bet on the Panthers. So I took the Panthers to win between 7 and 13 points. And I had it with 26 seconds to go. And he intercepts that pass and they go over 13 points, winning. Oh man, my $10 was going to turn into 44. I had it spent. I already had that money going to the bank and I lost. Oh,
you know what though? Like, we needed that because I mean, you get into that last few seconds, the last couple of minutes of the game. And I did a video, by the way, on the new Michigan Panthers channel, which I just dropped in the chat. So I'm going to do game recaps, and then we'll try to put some of this stuff also on there. And then if anyone wants to do Michigan Panthers content, you're more than welcome to do it. Just reach out to me and let me know. mailbag@rockdown.com. So the last couple of minutes of that game, which I'm sure you're going to get into next, but it was crazy, man. I thought that they were about to tie it up or potentially lose, but continue. Yeah, continue on.
So what a great game. I mean, they could have just taken a knee at the 20 and that would have made it so much better for me, but they wanted a very dominant win. So anyway, Eric lost. The Panthers won. I did predict the game right on who was going to win, just by not how much. All right. And then in the last game of the weekend, last year's defending champions, the Birmingham Stallions, went up against one of the okay teams from last year, the DC Defenders. Well, the DC Defenders lost their head coach just about a week ago. He took a job for Tennessee State, I believe it was, and the DC Defenders had a interim head coach. Their let's see, his name is Shannon Harris. He was their offensive coordinator. Okay, and this game was a great game. It was back and forth. It was very close. This was the closest game of the whole weekend. So the DC Defenders closed week 1 of the 2025 UFL season with an 18-11 upset over the reigning champion Birmingham Stallions. Now the Stallions were favored by 7.5 points, and the over-under was 39.5 on this game. They thought there was going to be a lot more scoring, but there was a lot of defense, a lot of sacks, and a lot of interceptions in this game. The Defenders fittingly used a stellar defensive performance to deal the Stallions a week 1 defeat. DC shut out Birmingham in the second half and completely nullified the 2023 USFL MVP Alex Magoo as a passer, sacking the QB 8 times with a smothering defense. And now I watched this whole game beginning to end, and at the very end of the game, the two coaches got together to shake hands. So it was Shannon Harris and Skip Holtz. Well, Shannon Harris decided to confront Stallions head coach Skip Holtz post-game, saying that Holtz called him a doorman at the UFL headquarters. And he said, "Get off my field." "Hey, good job, coach. I'm the doorman, though. That's what you told me back at the headquarters. You told me I was a doorman."
I don't get it. Why did all that go down? What's the hate here all about?
Well, back in the league meetings when they were getting together and everything, Shannon Harris was just the offensive coordinator, and Holtz told him he would never be a head coach. He said, "You're just a doorman." He didn't respect him as an offensive coordinator. Well, their coach takes a job at Tennessee State the very next week, and he's forced into the head coaching job. And this was a very much payback game for those comments that he had made at the meetings.
Hold on. So was this Wizenhunt that took this job, right?
No, that was the other team. That was
okay. I'm sorry. Which team are we on right now? I dipped out for a sec.
So we're on the Stallions and the DC Defenders. So the DC Defenders, they lost their coach. I can't remember his name. And he went to, I think, Tennessee State. And that's why Shannon Harris got this job to begin with. And he took it upon himself to tell his players, "Hey, this is what this guy said." And this was personal. This was a personal win for him. So I stuck around and listened to his little interview at the end of the game, and it was pretty sharp. It was pretty good because he was really fired up. And the guy that's the host for the UFL that goes and talks to the players and talks to the people up in the crowd and stuff was he was pretty fired up. And the coach was, I mean, he was basically fighting with the other coach, screaming at him, and he grabs him. He's like, okay, stop. Come do this interview with me. All of a sudden he just clicked, switched on a dime. All of a sudden he had a big smile on his face and, told the story. And I thought it was pretty cool that, hey, this guy had zero respect for you, and you just put it to him and his team in your place.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's fitting, right? So he got an opportunity because, what was it, Barlow or whatever his name was, he stepped down to go to Tennessee State?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
he
you
got
know,
he got an opportunity through, someone quitting, I guess, but he didn't really.
Yeah.
I get it.
But the whole thing is the guy was trying to be a bully.
Yeah.
And,
Well, he
and
got
didn't
bullied.
he didn't let him be the bully. He was the bully. All right. And then up next week, here is the UFL schedule for this upcoming week. The Stallions play the Panthers at Ford Field on Friday at 8:00 on Fox. The Stallions are favored by 1.5 points, so it's basically a pick 'em, and the over-under is 38.5 points. The Showboats play at the Defenders, 8 p.m. on Saturday on ABC. The Showboats are an 8-point underdog, and the over-under is 37 points on that game. The Roughnecks play at the Renegades Sunday on ESPN at noon. And that game is 8.5-point underdog for the Roughnecks. The Renegades are heavy favorites in this one. And that over under is 39 points. And then in the final game on Sunday night at 6:30, we have the Brahmas at the Battlehawks at 6:30 on FS1 with an over under of 39.5, and the Brahmas are a 7-point underdog. So there's a 7, 8.5, and 8-point point differential here, where some pretty big point spreads. And then you have the Stallions and Panthers at 1.5 points. So that should be the game of the week kicking off on Friday night at Ford Field. And this guy right here is going to that game. So anybody going down to Ford Field this weekend on Friday, I'll see you guys all down there.
All right, UFL, that's a wrap, man. Good start to the spring, right? We got some football back. I love it.
Yeah, it was great just to see actual real football again.
Yeah, I'm glad that we don't have to wait too long for football now. We got spring games coming up too for college. But speaking of college, man, I know that I ruffled some feathers last night with my comments on the Spartans, but I just see a team that is just so disciplined, undisciplined. They don't play defense, and they just, I felt like they had a little bit of luck this year, a lot of luck this year, especially in the tournament. But I don't know. I just saw a team, and I hear people complaining about the NIL and the portal and how it's killing these teams. And look, either the Spartans need to get on the payroll real quickly and figure out, look, you're going to have to do what other teams are doing, or I don't know, because this was not a typical Tom Izzo, very well-disciplined team, and it showed last night. They still had a chance at the end, but man, the turnovers, the lack of ball control, it's just not what I'm used to watching from Izzo. But maybe next year, if Izzo's even still around.
Talking about some sport that I have no clue what it is. It's like you're speaking Japanese.
Yeah, it's a round ball, that goes into a hoop.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Me no speaky basketball.
That's all right. That's all good. I don't talk a lot about basketball and baseball anymore, but yeah, at least not on this channel. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll do another channel another day. But okay, so we talked about Justin Fields. Let's get to Tyreek Hill for just a moment.
All right.
I want to start with this. Tyreek Hill made a comment, had to be 6-8 weeks ago, maybe longer. And when I caught it and I heard, I'm like, what does he mean? Why is he saying this? And here it is. So here's his comment. Here you go.
Maybe I'm not a cheater, I'm a lion, baby. So maybe I'm not a cheater, I'm a lion, baby. So maybe I'm not a cheater, I'm a lion, baby. So
what does he mean by that? Does he want to be a Detroit Lion? Is there room even on this roster for another speedster, small wide receiver, but he's proven himself? I think the money is too much that it would take to bring a guy. This is like the defensive end argument. If you love wide receivers and you love dynamic offensive players, this is like the offense versus defense argument where everyone's saying we need to go get Micah Parsons or Chase Young or Danielle Hunter, or you name anybody else, right? Myles Garrett, Crosby. Same thing for Tyreek Hill. It's the same type of an argument, and I feel like for whatever reason, Tyreek Hill wants out of Miami. He's gone. He wants out. And he's stepped it up again yesterday, publicly stating that he wanted out. He made headlines after the conclusion of the season, this last season, the final game. He just kind of quit on his team. And then he told reporters that he wanted to be gone and was opening the door to be traded. But then it just kind of like fizzled out. We didn't hear anything during free agency. We didn't hear anything during the tampering period. And now here we're, 26 days away from the draft. And I still haven't really heard a whole lot. But Hill's obviously had some time to think about it. He indicated that he wanted to stay with the team and revealed his comments were more motivated by frustration with the season's progress. But then that changed again into a peace sign yesterday. And these cryptic tweets, like a lot of us put too much emphasis, I think, on these tweets and what they do or don't mean. We'll never know. Is he saying peace out to who? Who's he saying peace out to? Twitter? Or X? Is he stepping away from social media for a minute? Is he losing a player on his team right now? Are they going to get traded or potentially released or cut? Or does this mean, again, that he's had more time to think about it, and now Miami may be forced to pull the plug on Tyreek Hill and get him out of Miami and at least try to recuperate anything that they can, recoup anything that they can for him. He's an 8-time Pro Bowler. He's a 5-time All-Pro. He's a Super Bowl champion. And again, he commented at the end of last season he wanted out. I guess I'll leave it up to you guys in the chat, in the comments later. Do you want Tyreek Hill to find a spot on this team? And if so, who are you willing to lose? Would you trade J-Mo for Tyreek Hill and see what Miami would be willing to give you with that trade? Yes, I said with. I know that sounds crazy, but you're trading a dynamic, young wide receiver in Jameson Williams, who's going to command some sort of a bag next year. And you're bringing in a guy like Tyreek Hill that's at the end of his career, potentially, a couple seasons left. Just not sure how much he's going to cost. What's it worth? It's worth a conversation. But what I'm not going to say is the Lions are going to go all in and move up to number 1 and trade for Tyreek Hill and bring in Abdul Carr. I'm not going to say that. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't see this one happening whatsoever. We already got J-Mo. J-Mo's on a cheap deal. We don't need an expensive veteran that does the same thing. That's the same player. So what are you going to do with 2 J-Mos on the field at the same time? I'd rather have a big bodied receiver than another super speedster guy. Yeah, to me, I it's a hard pass for me. Plus, it's been speculated that he's not the best locker room guy in the world, and we don't need a bad apple here, and he likes to talk too much.
Yeah, I'd say so too. It would be a hard pass for me. I mean, you can't ignore his talent and what that would be on the offense, but it would be a hard pass. Big shout out. Needed to wind back here for a minute to Chris MVP Harris with a $4.99 super chat. Says, good morning, guys. Go Lions. Good morning to you, Chris. Appreciate your donation. And then I also got to re-shout out Adam G last week, like he does every Friday. He's always dropping something into the Cash App. And really appreciate everyone, obviously, that donates to the channel and everyone that just shows up to listen and watch and participate. I'll get ads off for the rest of the day. And Chris, let me dial you up something. So we're talking about J-Mo. Let me dial up a J-Mo play or something. How about that?
Looks, throws, it is complete. There goes J-Mo right side. He's got the angle to the end zone. 25-20, 15-10, 5, end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. J-Mo flies into the end zone, and the Lions extend their lead.
That was the nut grab move, right? That play right there. I love Dan Miller's inflection. Dude's a pro's pro at what he does, man. Really love his work. All right, what's next on our list today? Let's take a look.
Well, I'm going to send you something here real quick.
All right.
want you to take a look at this. Somebody just sent this to me. Might be something we want to talk about.
You emailing it or texting it?
Yeah, I just emailed it to you, so you
All
can
right.
open it.
Well, I opened it. Well, while I get to that in just a second, let's roll through the annual league meetings update. More Lions news.
Sure.
Or actually, you had one. So while I'm opening up this email, why don't you get into Alim McNeill?
Yeah. So I was looking around the internet last night, and I came across this article where this guy was putting Alim McNeill's contract under scrutiny. Did the Lions pull the trigger a little too quick on Alim McNeill? All right. The Detroit Lions made headlines during the 2024 season when they locked down emerging defensive tackle Alim McNeill with a 4-year, $97 million contract extension that included $55 million in guarantees. While the front office saw the deal as a long-term investment in one of their foundational defenders, not everyone is convinced the move was wise. Bleacher Report's Brad Gagnon recently highlighted what he believes is each NFL team's most overpaid player. And for Detroit, McNeill got the nod. Gagnon expressed concern about the size of the deal for a player who, while promising, has yet to put together a true breakout campaign. Do you agree that he is the Detroit Lions' most overpaid player?
If you're asking me,
yeah, what do you think?
No, I don't think he's an overpaid player. Matter of fact, I think that you see from the Milton Williams contract this year that the Lions save some money here.
Exactly.
So I will say this. Alim has been a consistent top 10 defensive tackle in the league, at least the last 2 seasons. Last year, obviously his season got cut a little bit short from the injury, but
yeah,
you always see him at the top or near the top getting double teamed. I think it was 44% last year. He was getting double teamed, which was top 16 in the league, I think, or it might have been better than that. Yeah, he gets 3, 4, 5 sacks a year. 4, 5, 6 sacks a year.
Yep.
That's not terrible for a defensive tackle. It's good, right? I think that if you can get 5, 6, hell, even 7 sacks a year would be great. But it's not all about the sack, right? It's about the pressure and the fact that he's able to command double teams, and that does free up other guys on the football field. So to get a dominant defensive tackle in this league, I don't think paying $20 million to a guy is too much, especially for what he's been able to produce and how he works within the confines of this defense. I will say this, though. I think that they did it right. They got it done. And I want to say they got it done early. Or maybe they didn't, because I think Alim was under control this year too. But with such a deep draft this year, did the Lions maybe make a mistake in not maybe thinking about a trade this year to try to add some draft picks? And then, okay, so if we think about that for a moment, well, if they would have done a trade or thinking about trading this year, well, he's injured. You just blew up your own plan. You wouldn't have been able to trade him. So then if you didn't have a deal done and you didn't trade him, well, you could have got a deal done with him this year for a lot cheaper. I get sick of people putting these. Broderick Martin falls into this story too.
Yeah.
And so Hendon Hooker falls into the story. There was an article that came out over the weekend. I'll see if we can get to it here at a moment. But to answer the question on this, no, I do not think Alim McNeill is overpaid. Yes, I do think that he's a damn good football player, and he's perfect for Detroit. It doesn't mean that he's going to stay here his entire career. And I think the Lions, what they've shown us to do is they're very savvy in their contracts. So if anything, it benefits the Lions. I'm going to get to what you just sent us here in just a moment. I got to figure out a way to get everything pulled in because my one scene is for some reason missing a whole bunch of stuff, including myself.
I got a little bit more on Alim McNeill if you want to
go
do
for
that.
it. Yep,
I'll
keep
read
going.
this. So McNeill's raw numbers don't necessarily scream superstar. He tallied 25 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and 7 tackles for loss in 14 games last season. That said, Pro Football Focus graded him highly, ranking him 11 out of 219 interior defensive linemen in 2024. So he missed 3 games and still was the 11th rated defensive tackle in the league. So that means he was shooting at top 10 numbers. Adding to the debate is the torn ACL McNeill suffered in 2024. While the team is optimistic he'll return in time for the 2025 campaign, any serious injury raises questions. Well, that's with any player. And despite the concerns, Detroit structured the deal with flexibility. The Lions can opt out after the 2026 season without too much long-term damage to their cap sheet, providing a financial safety valve if McNeill doesn't reach the level his paycheck suggests. The Lions clearly believe in McNeill's upside and leadership on the defensive line, but as critics like Gagnon point out, the pressure is now squarely on McNeill to prove he can be more than solid. He needs to be great. Now he rebounds from injury and performs over the next 2 seasons will determine whether Detroit's gamble was a savvy bet or a costly misstep. So in my opinion, I think the Lions actually got a deal because players like Milton went out and got a bag. And this season, I don't know what it is, but this season more than any other season, it seems like all of the other positions, not quarterback, but wide receiver, corner, defensive tackle, edge, they're all getting unprecedented money, 30 million, 40 million a year. So I think the Lions did pretty darn good with this contract. And I think it is going to pay just fine because of what, $18 million a year. That's fine. That it's, or no, it's a 4-year, 97 million. So just under
right around 20 million a year.
Yeah. So listen, I think it's fine. And I think the Lions got ahead of it, and it's going to come back to not bite them in the butt, but just the exact opposite. I think McNeill's going to be fine, but I don't think he's going to be ready for the beginning of the season. It's going to take a few games. So don't be surprised if we draft a defensive tackle, which we need one, and somebody fills in for the first 3 or 4 games for McNeill.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. Let me I'm still trying to get this thing lit up here, but you know what? This scene just might be a little funky. I don't know what is going on here. I must have totally forgot. And I forgot to change the date today.
Uh-oh.
That's all right. We're talking in the future, but we're in the past. It's all good. Okay. So I'm going to speculate on what this means here in just a moment. But some information here about Khalif Raymond. Some news here about Khalif Raymond coming by ways of Pride of Detroit, right? Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Pride of Detroit?
Yeah. So Kevin Barr sent me this in the Voxer chat. This just went down.
All right, let me just get this ship shaped. And we'll get it rolled up.
Detroit Lions news this morning. Something actually came out.
Right? We got a little action today. Here we go.
While we're on air.
All right. Oh, I knew it was going to do this. So hold the phone here. We'll just turn you off. And we'll turn you off. There we go. We'll roll with it like that for today. Get this guy moved out of the way. Okay. My apologies. I didn't plan on doing any breaking news today because nothing's happened. Like
in a month.
and it's probably a bad thing to do is just not be ready. But anyway, so Pride of Detroit just put this out. Obviously, at the league meetings going on right now, there's some extra deals apparently going on. Someone's doing work in Motown, but Khalif Raymond takes a pay cut and a restructure, eliminating the 2026 cap hit. Raymond sees his 25 guarantees double as he helps the Detroit Lions eliminate a 26 cap hit. Okay, let's read through. I haven't read this yet. Let's read through it. And then I'm going to speculate at the end of what I think this means. So the Detroit Lions wide receiver, punt returner Khalif Raymond have agreed to a contract restructuring that has benefits for both parties. Over his first 5 seasons as a professional, Raymond bounced around practice squads and active rosters of multiple teams. And then in 21, he signed with the Detroit Lions during the regime's first season in Detroit. Not only was Raymond a staple on the offense and special teams, but he also received a new 2-year contract in 2022. That season, Raymond earned his first All-Pro recognition as a punt returner, second team, and with it came a new contract extending through 2025. Now, after earning another second-team All-Pro this last season as a punt returner in 24, Raymond entered the final year of his contract with a scheduled 25 salary cap hit of $6.45 million and $3.1 million in guarantees. Raymond's contract also carried a void year, which was scheduled to add another $1.5 million or $1.55 million to the Lions' 26 salary cap. However, a recent contract renegotiation, that's the key point, between the Lions and Raymond has created a new 25 contract. In the new deal, Raymond takes a pay cut to his overall contract, yet receives a slight pay raise in 25, along with a significant increase in guaranteed money. Meanwhile, the Lions recoup salary cap space from Raymond's total contract, the majority of which will be most impactful on the 26 salary cap. So with the help of Over the Cap, Spotrac, and past contract breakdowns, Jeremy Reisman and whoever wrote this said that the changes to Raymond's contract will be broken down in the next section. So let's get to that. In the new contract, the Lions included $1.5 million prorated restructure bonus, added $260K to his game bonuses, and $110K to his workout bonus. Additionally, they also pulled Raymond's voided year dead cap of $1.5 or $1.55 million in prorated bonuses from 26 into 25. So essentially what they've done is they've moved everything out of 26 into 25. The move totals $3.42 million in new financial additions. To offset this cost, the Lions reduced Raymond's base salary from $4.35 million to $1.83 million, freeing up $2.52 million for redistribution. And to even the rest out, Raymond agreed to take a $900,000 pay cut, bringing the new contract level. I'm not sure what that means. Raymond has now $6.43 million in guarantees for 2025. And furthermore, this is the contract today. Old contract was 4.35. The new contract is 1.83. Signing bonus of 1.55. A restructure bonus of 1.5, which those are all guaranteed. Voided year is now 0 for next year. Converted the voided year to 1.55 this year. I'm not sure what that means. Per game bonus is now $360K from $250K. And a workout bonus of $160K. So total guarantees, he pretty much doubled up what he was making. Cap hit is now 6.95. Prior to that was 6.45. Again, the Lions, on the surface, when you look at this, yeah, they saved $1.5 million. That's what they did. Okay. Here's my thoughts. Who are they bringing in? Who are they bringing in, or who are they about to extend? I think that's the only reason why you do this. Obviously, they're forecasting for the future and trying to figure out, because 26, the Lions are up against it with salary cap. They're up against it. They don't have a ton. And with all of these big contracts that are set to hit with Jared Goff, I think his number is like $70 million next year. And you're thinking about Kirby and you're thinking about Aiden, but you're also thinking about other players that are still available in free agency. I don't think that the Lions are done just yet. So the question is, who are they bringing in? Who are they going to extend? What do you think, Eric?
JMO is getting a max contract tomorrow. 10 years, 100 and...
You sure about that? You sure about
$50
that?
trillion.
You sure about that?
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
In all seriousness, maybe they're getting something done with Aiden, but more likely he's just planning ahead. I know they'll be able to be doing a bunch of restructures next year because you got Panay Sewell's contract, you have Amon Ra's contract, you have Alim McNeill's contract, you have Jared Goff's contract, and you got to pay for all those starting next year. Those ones all start tolling next season. So 2026 is the big year for contracts. They're going to have to do some restructures. I just don't see how they get through the season without doing it next year. They may even start the season next year over the cap, and have to cut a few people. So this is going to be a real important draft to bring in cheaper new players, and some of your fan favorites might be going out the door that are not under contract beyond this year. And someone like Khalif Raymond, this might be the writing on the wall that this is your last season, buddy. And we need to clean some stuff up on the books so that way when you do leave, we don't owe you anything and we don't have anything on our books.
I just lost the chat, so I can't see anything in the chat. But I did see where Michael Garrity said,
"Bring back Zadarius."
Yeah, bringing back Zadarius Smith. So I mean, there's real potential. Like I've been high on that possibility, and we hear it all the time that teams have handshake deals with veterans. And what a handshake deal means is, look, I'm not going to sign with another team as long as we have a tentative structure in place for a contract. Then yeah, I'll be back, and yeah, I'll stay in shape. And no, I don't need to be on the roster right now. Do what you got to do, and then I'll be back. So that happens, right? It does happen. I believe it happened last year with Kyle Pecco. I believe it could happen with Zadarius Smith. He's not re-signed yet. So I think that's a good option. I like that one, Michael Garrity. Who else do you think? Anybody else, Eric?
That's the best one I've seen so far, other than my JMO take.
How about this guy?
Maybe I'm not a cheater, I'm a lion, baby. So
No, he's not coming.
I'm just saying. How about Trey Hendrickson?
Hey, don't be doing that stuff, because I don't see how we can make it happen, especially because you were going to have to give up significant draft capital. They want a first round plus. Okay,
Maybe it's now a second.
I doubt it. I doubt it's going to be a second, even if it's a second. Okay, you have a guy that's 31, going to be 32 this year. He's wanting a max contract, $40 million a year, and he wants a new contract before he goes anywhere or does anything. So how are you going to pay him $40 million and give up that much? No, I would rather take my chances drafting someone in the draft and putting my future on my skills as an evaluator of talent. And I think that's exactly what Brad's going to do.
I agree. I think that if you were to do the Hendrickson move, yeah, it would be great. I think it would last a year, maybe 2 at the most. Goff would definitely have to restructure. I think it would be great just to have the experiment, and I think the experiment would probably fail. So then hopefully I can just win my argument and never have to resurface it again. But I don't want it to fail. I don't want the Lions to fail. So that's why it's not going to happen. I think you're right, though. It's too much. It's too much money for Hendrickson, and that would be absolutely...
This is reckless.
That would be reckless. It's reckless thinking. It would be reckless abandonment of the team in the future. So, I mean, who else is available out there that the Lions could be looking at? I guess is the question. Are they done in free agency? I don't think so. I think that there's still a couple of guys that they would love to get done. I have not updated my sheet. Honestly, since I got my computer back up and running, there's a lot of things that I haven't been able to get done because I've had to rebuild all this stuff and it's just taken forever. But I'll try to get my sheet updated today. So I don't know who's really even available that makes sense right now. So that's why I'm going to ask you guys in the chat and obviously in the comments below, who makes sense right now? What are the Lions still looking for? I will say this, though. Here's our updated tracker. That's where we're going to head next. So it's Monday. Let's get it kicked off with the updated tracker here. We're kind of finishing the day out with the updated tracker. So as you know, the Lions have top 30 visits, NFL Combine. They had their formal visits and meetings. And then as you move forward into the season, you have pro day visits. You have pro day meetings. And that's pretty much going to be it between now and the draft. You'll have some virtual meetings. They already had the Shrine Bowl and the Reese Bowl, the Hula Bowl and the Tropical Bowl, all that stuff. But you also will have more local, like you'll have a lot more local kid visits that are typically don't count against your top 30. The Lions will be bringing in some more football players to have deeper conversations with prior to the draft. And that's kind of where we are right now. So the Lions have already met with, in the top 30 visits, Georgia linebacker Chaz Chambliss, UC Davis running back Lan Larison, North Dakota State offensive lineman Gray Zabel, Michigan edge Josiah Stewart, Maryland linebacker Ruben Hippolyte, I think is how you say it. So just looking at the top 30, it would say linebacker, Josiah Stewart, possibly a linebacker. They've met with 3, if not 4 linebackers. I think the Lions are looking for a linebacker, probably a little bit later in the draft. They want to get better at that position. Okay, so now let's walk it back to the beginning of the show. If they go after Mike Green, if they go after a James Pierce, that individual is going to be a linebacker, is what I'm thinking. It could also mean that maybe the Lions institute a different sort of a scheme on certain downs and distance or against certain teams. Maybe they run something a little bit differently. I think it'd be too chaotic. I don't think that you want to make this overly complicated. It's already a complicated defense, running this gap and a half scheme. We'll see what they do. I'm just really interested to see what the Lions are going to do from a scheme perspective, whether it stays gap and a half or, they drive it back to single gap. NFL Combine formal visits. We knew they met with Savion Jones, Mike Green, Jack Sawyer, Nick Scorton, Pooh Paul, linebacker, Jalen McLeod, linebacker, Cody Lindberger, linebacker, Kobe King, linebacker, Jod Campbell, linebacker, Oklahoma State edge, Colin Oliver, defensive line, Kenneth Grant, safety, Jonas Sanker, safety, Andrew Makuba, who I love Makuba, tight end, Thomas Fidone, tight end, Jackson Hawes, tight end, CJ Dupree, South Carolina corner, Fortune, love that kid too, cornerback, Kobe Bryant, Iowa State cornerback, Darian Porter, corner, Azare Thomas, Quincy Riley, a few wide receivers, Eric Iomanor, Pat Bryant, quarterback, Jalen Milroe. You best believe if Jalen Milroe is at 60, he will be a Detroit Lion. Wide receiver, Brew McCoy, excuse me. Offensive line, Jonah Sabiane, I think is how you say his last name. Offensive line, Eli Cox. Offensive line, Donovan Jackson. Please don't do this again. William and Mary offensive tackle, Charles Grant. LSU offensive tackle, Emory Jones. Pro Day, local attendees. Central Florida running back, Penny Bone. Wayne State kicker, Griffin Milovansky. Central Michigan DB, Duran McKinney. Eastern Michigan tight end, Blake Daniels. Eastern Michigan defensive tackle, Peyton Price. Northwest Oklahoma State defensive tackle, Mufta Angeli. Houston tight end, Malik Carr. Auburn linebacker, Dorian Mousy. Pro Day meetings. Austin P, they met with a couple of DBs, Jesse Johnson and Dorian Davis. Albion College quarterback, Luke Lovell. Kentucky defensive line, Dion Walker. Wayne State DB, Caleb Coleman. Grand Valley State safety, Ian Kennelly. Wake Forest defensive line, Kevin Pointer. Vanderbilt wide receiver, Darian Wiley. Temple DB, Andreas Keaton, and LA Tech wide receiver, Abdul Ibrahim. So guys like Ibrahim They intrigue the heck out of me. Let me pull him up. Abdul Ibrahim. Hold on. Totally spelled his name wrong. I think what you see when you evaluate what the Lions are bringing in, who they're meeting with, I think it kind of sets the stage to what style of a football player that they're looking for. And if you take the time to at least, evaluate these guys and go a little bit deeper, I think that you end up finding these common denominators. The thing about Ibrahim is he's only 6 foot, but he's 200 pounds. He's a big kid. Bigger bodied wide receiver. He's just not tall. So I think that when you look at the fact that they're bringing these guys in, these could be UDFAs, right? A lot of these guys are UDFAs that they want to have some conversation with early so they can try to understand who they are. Because I don't see a lot of these formal meetings as guys that you're going to have to worry about early in the draft. Honestly, when you look at this list, I would say 25% could be top 4 rounds. In the rest, 5th, 6th, 7th, or UDFA. Why is that? Well, maybe because the Lions have a whole bunch of later round draft picks. That could be the biggest reason, which means maybe Brad Holmes isn't going to move a whole lot. He's just going to draft a bunch of guys where they sit. Possibly. I think he's just doing his due diligence. He wants to know who these guys are. Want to get a good idea just in case, this draft goes wild and, you either have to stay put or maybe you have to move around a little bit to grab somebody. But I think at the end of the day, this year's meetings, this year's players that Brad has brought in and met with and scouts have gone to visit, it's different than years in the past or seasons in the past is what I'm gaining. I'm not seeing the big name yet. There's a couple, but I'm not seeing that big name that is firmly pointing me in a direction at first round. I think it's all up in the air right now, to be honest with you. I don't think anyone has a clue what Brad is going to do just yet. Out of any of those names, anything catch your eye or your ear?
Not really. I like that they met with Scorton.
Yeah, so Brent, Oladapo is not on the list. He's not on the list yet. And I don't know about secret meetings because you can't have, everything has to be reported. So I don't know who's reporting that. Whoever's saying the Lions are having secret meetings, you can't do that. From what I understand, it all has to be reported. Simply because each team is allotted so many visits, so many opportunities. I would be leery of that. But Oladapo's not on the list yet. Doesn't mean he won't be. I just don't see him as someone that potentially fits this squad just yet. But late, probably day 3 for me now. Day 3, 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. I think he'll probably go. Just depends on when is his pro day? Did he have his pro day already, Brent? Oh no, Brent, that doesn't mean that, buddy. I think it doesn't mean that at all.
Brent's flexing this morning.
Yeah, no. Matter of fact, Brent, I remember last year you said some players. How many of those players ended up on the squad? I'm just curious. All right. So what do you got? You want to finish up with?
Let's see here. What else we got today?
Let me say this. Teams can have private meetings, but not secret meetings, right?
Yep.
Yeah. In top 30, it's kind of a misnomer. I mean, they're going to have more than 30 visits because of the different buckets that they have available, right? The local days usually don't count, or the local kids don't count, the way I understand it. Top 30 visits. NFL teams are allowed to host up to 30 individual pre-draft visits with players. Those visits are a way for teams to really get to know players a little bit better. evaluate their on and off field abilities, conduct medical evaluations, obviously the mental side of it, kind of get in their head a little bit. And then you have the team, the term top 30. It's really misleading. Teams can use these visits for any player that they are interested in, regardless of their perceived draft position, right? Or evaluation. All of these purpose, or all the purpose involved in these visits is evaluating attitude, coachability, maturity, gauging potential, talking about injury-related setbacks, or kind of where they're at in their career, gauging the mental side. While these visits are private, though, the fact that a player is visiting the team is not necessarily kept secret. The media outlets obviously track these visits, and you're not hiding anything from someone, right? They're gonna be reported. So I've never heard of a secret meeting ever in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to.
No. Anyway, let's keep going. What were you going to do?
All right. So on Friday, the Lions announced an important stadium bit of news on Friday. Friday afternoon, the Detroit Lions released a video with the Lions great Barry Sanders, David Montgomery, Coach Dan Campbell, rapper Kid Rock, and I think his name is Big Sean. And they were all walking out to the 50-yard line to take a seat on these chairs out in Ford Field. And they only showed like a 5-second clip of all of them sitting down. None of them said anything. And fans lit up the internet with conspiracy theories of what the 5-second video meant. They thought that Big Sean and Kid Rock were going to do a song for the Lions or something like that. They thought, oh no, here it comes. We're going to be partnering up with Kid Rock. And I heard a bunch of, political stuff about that. But then just a few hours later, the entire video came out and had each of them talking about their favorite moments at Ford Field. And then it was announced that a partnership with Ford Motor Company for the naming rights to Ford Field has been renewed for another 10 years and will run through 2036. So the name Ford Field is not going anywhere anytime soon for the Detroit Lions. I just thought it was funny that fans jumped all over the little video release because it was like just a 5-second clip of them all going to sit down, and the internet went wild.
Well, they went wild for various reasons, but the main thing is the whole thing surrounding about Kid Rock and racism is pretty bad. Eminem has always been the guy. Like, Kid Rock disappeared a long time ago. Why was Eminem not there? You know what I mean? Why do you have Kid Rock there? And I get it. I read all the comments too. Like, it was a bad look.
Yeah.
Bad look. I mean, the same thing with the Hulk Hogan thing too, and his racist comments.
Yeah.
So again, allegedly, reportedly, for both these guys, that's what's been in the media for years now. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have had either of them involved, but it happened.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I would be as far away from that crap as possible.
Yeah. But you got to remember that there's no such thing as bad media. So
maybe for us, but for a multi-billion-dollar organization, there absolutely is.
They just want people talking. They want to get the likes, clicks, and shares up there.
Yeah, I don't think they're worried about social media income, honestly, at all. I think they're more worried about the face of the franchise. And, like, let's put it this way. I mean, there's a lot of football players that could be affected by what some of the things that were said by that individual.
Mm-hmm.
And if they felt like you were okay with that as an owner, because now you brought that individual into your organization to do media work, how would that make you feel about the ownership, the coach? How would that make you feel? I don't know that I would feel too great about it. I know I wouldn't. But, It is what it is. They're the ones that have to atone for their
Yeah.
their actions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They do make some funky moves in the PR department for the Lions. That's for sure.
I mean, more often than not, they hit home runs all the time. They do
Yeah.
a great job. I'm just not so sure what they were thinking with this one, but I'll try to stay away from that as much as I can. So John Harbaugh got an extension. What happened here?
Yeah, so John Harbaugh got a 3-year extension with the Ravens. The Ravens extended coach John Harbaugh through the 2028 season. The 62-year-old Harbaugh is the Ravens' all-time winningest coach with a 172 and 104 record over 17 seasons. The Baltimore Ravens extended coach Harbaugh by 3 years, taking him through the 2028 season. He is the second longest tenured active coach behind Mike Tomlin, who has been with the Pittsburgh Steelers for 18 years. Baltimore has made the playoffs 12 times under Harbaugh, who coached the Ravens to the Super Bowl title in the 2012 season. Harbaugh was entering the final year of his contract. Now, details of what the exact contract extension are not out yet, but I did find an article saying that it's north of 16 million, and it's going to eclipse what his brother Jim makes for the Chargers. So he's going to be the higher paid Harbaugh due to this deal coming out, a 3-year extension from the Ravens.
All right, so I'm going to finish with this. Tim Twentyman, 5 things to watch 2025 league meetings. The NFL owners, executives, head coaches, and other personnel will meet in Palm Beach, Florida. Those meetings have already started, and this is what's going to happen for the rest of the week. The 5 things to watch out for. Number 1, club proposals, playing rules, bylaws, and resolutions is something that we highlighted last week, something that is going to happen this week. Are they going to implement these rules or not? Are they going to change the bylaws or not? We're going to find out. Now, the NFLPA got behind a few of these, and I think for any rule change to go into effect, what's being reported as a club bylaw is 75% of the ownership groups, 24 to be exact, have to vote in favor of the change. So Detroit submitted the following playing rule proposal and 2 bylaw proposals that they would like to adopt. 1, eliminate the automatic first down aspect as a penalty imposed for defensive holding and illegal contact. As it stands right now, it's a 5-yard penalty with an automatic first down for those infractions. Number 2, amend the current playoff seeding format to allow wildcard teams to be seeded higher than divisional champs if the wildcard team has a better regular season record. Something tells me that one won't fly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Exclude from the 90 player roster the limit. Exclude from the 90 player roster the player placed on reserved injured before or on the day of the roster reduction to 53 players, unless such player is designated for return. This one, I think, has a better than 50% chance of getting changed. I'm not so sure how many teams were affected by this rule last year, but we know the Lions were. Other proposals being voted on included prohibiting the tush push. I'm sure that won't fly. And others. Second big thing to watch out for is Brad Holmes' interview. The Detroit Lions will offer up interviews with Brad Holmes, Rod Wood, and Dan Campbell over the next couple of days. So general manager, obviously, Brad Holmes is scheduled to meet with local reporters. Last year, I think they did it from the comfort of their condos. They did it on on their lanai or whatever down there in Florida. But they're scheduled to meet with local reporters who obviously traveled down to Florida to cover the event. It's the first time that we'll hear from Brad Holmes since the start of free agency in the combine, and it's usually a very informative session as he breaks down his signings and signs or explains his approach to free agency. If this is up before tomorrow, then we will probably highlight it in the morning and just watch it together and talk about it, right? Holmes also went outside the organization to sign some key free agents this year, DJ Reed, obviously being the biggest one. He also spent a lot of resources re-signing a lot of the team from last year. So it'd be interesting to hear what he says about that. Third thing is breakfast with Dan Campbell. The head coaches hold a 1-hour breakfast session with the media, with AFC coaches on Monday, and tomorrow will be the NFC coaches. So there'll be a breakfast tomorrow with Dan Campbell. Again, if they are going to air this live, we will have it with you guys. It's an opportunity, obviously, to sit down and kind of deep dive into what they've been doing this offseason. Fourth thing, the Rod Wood interview. So the business side of football, obviously it's an important aspect that sometimes gets lost in the shuffle. And the new uniform designs unveiled last offseason were a big storyline this time last year. So what's newsworthy this offseason? I don't know. I would say, according to Tim, he says international markets, scheduling, improvements to the Meyer Performance Center and Ford Field, and the team's perspective on some of their new rule change proposals. I would say these newer contracts, the way that they're structuring these contracts, I want to know more about that. I want to know why, what's changed. What are they seeing that's different? What are they getting prepared for? Is this a natural progression? Is this a new way that they figured out to do it? But why now? I'm more interested. Hopefully that question gets asked. Maybe next year we'll be able to get down there. 20 Minute in the Huddle podcast will be going live with Dan Campbell, Holmes, and Wood. They're all going to sit down, or at least not live. They'll be recording it. They're going to sit down with Tim Twentyman this week. So be looking for 3 exciting opportunities to listen to these guys, even more so than the interviews that will be held between today and tomorrow. Any thoughts, comments on annual meetings?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to hearing from Rod Wood. And if I was one of the reporters, I'd have some questions for him. I'd be like, so when are we getting decent Wi-Fi service in Ford Field? So during the game, we can do stuff on social media and check our scores and check how our bets are doing, because right now you're just getting the circle of doom every time you try to get on anything in Ford Field. The Wi-Fi is absolutely horrible. And I would ask him, what kind of game day gifts are you going to give out this year? Is it going to be more bobbleheads and kind of cool stuff this year, or lame stuff like pom-poms and bracelets? Because the Detroit Lions now have the highest average ticket price in the entire NFL for season ticket holders. So I want to know what you guys are doing with all that money. Are you guys going to do some really cool stuff for the Lions fans this year that are season ticket holders? And I'd like to know what kind of improvements they're going to make for people coming into Ford Field. That would be my questions for Mr. Rod Wood.
I think internet's a big one. Wi-Fi is always tough. Sometimes it makes you wonder if they do it purposely so that, you can't air the game. You know what I mean? Just people go live in there and it makes it really tough for you to go live or do anything.
Yeah.
I've never figured out a really good way to do it. Maybe there's some areas that have better Wi-Fi signal than others. I'm sure that season ticket holder areas probably do. I just never go explore a whole bunch of different areas. I kind of stick to my area. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're right down by the field, I have a way to get on a Wi-Fi that's really high speed. But other than that, if you're anywhere else in the stadium, it just, good luck even getting a text through. I've sent texts during the game and had them not show up until hours later when I leave the facility and my text finally goes through, or that people sent me and I don't get them until way after the game. But I know you have 65, 70,000 people. You need some really beefed up internet to get things to work correctly, So other stadiums do it though, because I've been to other stadiums and their Wi-Fi is blazing and works fantastic.
I think the outdoor environments are obviously a lot easier for the Wi-Fi because you're not encapsulated by all the steel and concrete and everything else. You know what I mean?
I think it's worse because Green Bay's internet was horrible. Their Wi-Fi was pathetic.
That's just Green Bay.
Yeah, there's work worse than Detroit's. It was awful. Because I did try when I was in Green Bay, and I thought being outdoors, oh man, I'll be able to get that tower right over there that I can see from my seat. But no, it didn't work that way.
So this I didn't catch, but so when the Lions proposed this playoff seeding change, right? Or if you have a better record that you could have a better seeding. There was some coaches that really spoke out against this in a major way, right? Mike Tomlin being one of them, calls himself a division purist. He says, I think the division winners should get a playoff game and a home playoff game, period. Broncos head coach, obviously, Peyton says same thing. It'd be interesting to see where this goes, but I don't know. I guess if you win your division, I don't know. This is a tough one because we almost saw it happen this year. We did see it happen this year.
Yes.
Right? So it's tough, but how many other years has it happened? Probably every year.
It's happened a few times. And I don't think there's any good fix for it. I don't really think there is. I don't think this is going to pass. I just don't think there's enough owners that are behind it. You know, they like tradition, and anything that goes against tradition, you're going to have a hard time changing it. I mean, look how slow the NFL is to bring in any kind of technology. It's taken forever. And now this year, you're finally going to get some technology into the game that, you know, spring leagues have been using for 2 or 3 seasons. And now you're finally going to get a little taste of it this year in the NFL. You know, anything that goes against
the Chiefs,
what they've always done, the good old boy system, you know, anything that goes against that, it takes a long time to change. Now, there is one rule that I think is going to pass, because it sounds more and more like in league circles, all the media people have been asking all the teams, what do you think about the tush push? What do you think? And it sounds like there's some steam, sounds like there's some momentum to banning the tush push. But I think the way you get rid of the tush push is you get a player like Desmond Watson, who's 465 pounds, you stick him in the middle, and then you don't have to worry about the tush push.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh, what happened?
I didn't realize this happened over the weekend, but Peter Schrager's just left the NFL Network.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that.
I guess news broke over the weekend that Peter Schrager was considering leaving the NFL Network, and today has confirmed Schrager is done. He says the rumors are true. Schrager said on NFL Network, today is my last day on Good Morning Football. I end with great feelings. We are going to celebrate today. I love everything or everyone on the show. It's all good, but this will be the last episode I will be on this program. With a heavy heart, I'm stepping away, but it's good. It's also good for reasons and a bright future. Hopefully, we all still be crossing paths and we can talk about ball elsewhere. Schrager, who also works at Fox, did not say where the elsewhere could be, but all signs point to ESPN, which likely have him appear on several of its NFL studio shows. So does this really matter? Is Schrager just getting a leg up in what is potentially the purchase of NFL Network?
Possibly.
Is that what he's doing? He's just getting in early,
Yeah.
trying to cement himself at the top of the list before they buy.
That wouldn't make much sense, because you're just working for the same company again.
Well, ESPN would own it all.
Yeah.
So that would be I don't know. It'd be interesting. So here's one final thing. I don't even like to finish on this type of stuff, but I didn't realize that this happened on March 27th. And I'm only going to talk about this because this guy's young. Matt Stevens, a safety for the Patriots 2001 Super Bowl championship team. He had passed away on March 20th. The team obviously announced it last week, Thursday. He was 51 years old. He entered the NFL as a third-round pick through the Bills, 1996, played 8 seasons, spent time in Buffalo, New England, Philadelphia, Washington, and Houston. He appeared in 108 games, recorded 301 tackles, 13 interceptions, and a sack. In 2007, Stevens was involved in a motorcycle accident that injured his spinal cord, left him paralyzed from his waist down. He participated in clinical trials for the ReWalk device in 2011, a wearable exoskeleton that enabled him to regain mobility. And then the Patriots said in a statement that Matt Stevens' legacy obviously was marked by his contributions to professional football, his determination to overcome personal adversity, and the inspiration he provided to many through his resilience and dedication. Man, this, I had no idea that he was paralyzed from the waist below. And it's shocking, right? It makes you appreciate the luck that even I've had.
Mm-hmm.
Because after my major injury in 2020, falling through stairs, landing on your back and your neck, and I'm still walking. Yeah, not every day is easy, but I'm still walking. And then to hear a story like this, it just kind of, it makes you appreciate life a whole hell of a lot more, and also makes you sad at the same time that this individual had an unlucky event on a motorcycle, and it altered his life forever. So, all right, back at it tomorrow. League meetings going on. I'm sure we're going to have some information that's popping today. There's probably going to be, some heavy rumors that are starting today again. I'm interested to see why the Lions are making room for 2026. I think it means that a move is happening, whether that is a free agent, whether that is bringing back somebody from, I don't even know how many people we have left to bring back from last year's squad. Or is it a bigger signing, like an extension? We'll probably find out over the next 24, 48 hours. And if we don't, probably won't find out till May or June. But at some point, we'll find out. Eric, final 30 to you.
UFL week 1 was a huge success for me. I loved it. I got to watch not 1, not 2, but 4 complete football games. Got to watch them all. And it was a blast. I mean, it wasn't the most polished football in the world because it was week 1, but you watch, give it a couple weeks, and it is going to be amazing. I can't wait to watch some more spring football. It's getting my juices flowing again on football, and I love it.
Yeah, man, football's back. I love it too. Spring games coming up here pretty soon for the college. The one thing I want to point out too is NIL. I think that what we're seeing now is a drastic change in sports for forever. And it's slowly been creeping in, but with the way that NIL is kind of crept into basketball and football already. I mean, all sports, but basketball and football primarily are the two main drivers for all university sports and all main revenues. I think that what we're seeing in the NFL is no different than what's always been there. So earlier, I think, Eric, you had mentioned, some of these big contracts that are getting handed out, or maybe it was last week, the $30 million contracts.
Yeah.
It's a money grab right now. And I think that it's changing the landscape at all levels of sports. The purity of sports is kind of diminished. Enjoy it. Enjoy your kids when they're young, because that is like the purest part of the sport that we have left. And now even in high school. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, the recruiting, but even in high school, you're seeing where kids are getting paid. Kids are getting, their parents are getting promised things, or they're moved into these $1 million homes and given jobs in different cities. And it just seems like the corruption is running deeper and deeper and deeper, all the way down to high school sports now. And you wonder why the leagues have trouble later on, especially at college, but also in the NFL. They have trouble later on with such massive contracts. And it'd just be interesting to see where all this goes, how much longer that they can really get away with doing it, because the purity is gone. But I still am glad to see the football's back, and we at least get to enjoy it. Maybe the UFL is the last purest part of football, Eric. I don't know. They at least try to show us what's going on behind the curtain, and I think it's fun. think it's fun to. You hear all the conversations during the game yesterday, and I was just like, wait a second, they're actually talking about this stuff, and you kind of forget when you don't watch it for a year how much they're actually talking about during the game, and how enlightening it really is to hear more about the football game. And I know we've said it a few times. I wish the NFL would adopt something similar. And the whole reason why I started saying this was because I would love to see the UFL identity from transparency involved more in the NFL for transparency. We need more transparency. So that's it for today. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. or back here tonight. I think we have an interview tonight. And if not, I'll probably be doing mock draft. Otherwise, mock draft will be coming out soon. See you guys later.